Am I the asshole for being pissed that my daughter-in-law won't accommodate my allergy, so I am not going to her dinner? I am very frustrated. My son has been married to my daughter-in-law for 3 years now. I have always made extra dishes that didn't include meat to accommodate her. No matter how much of a pain it was, I always made sure she had options to eat when I hosted or she was over. She is a vegetarian and at one point tried to go vegan. My son and she never hosted due to living in a small apartment, but that changed since they have just bought a home. They are having a dinner this week, and I called her to remind her I am allergic to nuts. She then informed me that she doesn't have time and to bring my own food. She told me that she cooks a lot with different nuts, and she can't make adjustments to her menu. This is where I am at my limit. I told her I will not be going, and neither will my husband, that I have accommodated her for years, and not once have I made her bring her own food. This started an argument where she thinks I am being unreasonable. My husband is on my side, but my son and she are very upset. Edit, stop downvoting people who say there are allergies that are not life-threatening. They are correct. My allergy is not life-threatening. If it was going to kill me, I wouldn't be okay with any of the dishes having nuts. I just asked for one that I can eat. I can be at a table with nuts, it's fine. This actually personally annoys me. Allergic reactions are a spectrum from very mild to kill you. Also, for everyone saying allergies get worse every time people have it, they are incorrect. Some allergies can be improved through exposure therapy, which is usually done at a doctor's. My daughter has literally done that with her shellfish allergy. Not the asshole. Allergies are not food critiques. You literally can die from a bad reaction. The fact that you were accommodating for her dietary requests and then she is completely dismissive of your actual needs is absurd. Definitely don't go to a dinner when the chef is blasé about trying to kill you. Agreed, not the asshole. If daughter-in-law refuses to concede, I'd make sure the next family dinner at OP's house didn't have vegetarian options. Maybe being treated the way daughter-in-law treats OP would make the point better. Not the asshole. Nut allergies are serious. Catering to allergies is basic hospitality when having a dinner party. Perhaps your daughter-in-law is not ready to play host. She can make adjustments to her menus, especially for close family members. They shouldn't be surprised that you won't come. This was my thought. She's just a crappy host. Not the asshole. You accommodated her even when her accommodation wasn't necessary, and depending on the nut allergy, you could just die being around them. The utter disregard for someone's safety is wild to me. Nuts aren't even used as the main ingredients of most foods, so not subbing out is wild to me. The idea that she can't change the menu because of a major allergy is giving off the vibe she did this intentionally. Nuts are actually common in vegetarian cooking. However, it's also easy enough to plan a menu that doesn't include nuts. The daughter-in-law and her son are awful. I'm sure her son would have been mad at his mom if she said she was too busy to accommodate making meatless dishes. He also knows that his mom has an allergy. I bet he has never seen his mom have an anaphylactic reaction because she is careful to avoid her allergens. If he had, he would be more protective of his mom if he is a decent human, because an anaphylactic reaction is scary. There is food intolerance. Body cannot easily digest a foodstuff and rejects it, ferments it, or reacts, like my husband's dairy intolerance, which he has now aged through. They are uncomfortable and embarrassing. Then there are food allergies, which can kill. My daughter-in-law is allergic to 2 kinds of nuts. Her face swells up if my son kisses her sometime after he has eaten the nuts she is allergic to. So we just avoid nuts altogether, even though she reassures me what kind she can eat. I'm not risking it. This is a medical issue. In the UK, any caterer has to be aware of and work around the 14 main food allergens. Daughter-in-law is mistaking modern, I don't want to eat it, so I will claim it is an allergy to get my way with the menu with real life, which devalues the consequences of a real allergy. This was well explained to me by a chef who said she didn't mind catering to reasonable food preferences, or real allergies, but specified is it a dislike or will it make them poorly or kill them, which means closing down a food production line, cleaning it down, getting out the separated equipment stored, sanitized for allergen cookery, making the food, clearing down all machinery and surfaces again, putting the machinery back away in sanitized storage, then reopening the food line to pick up the backlog in making ordinary dishes. Humans do seem to have forgotten to care how to human. Not the asshole. I would never dream of asking an invited guest to bring their own food, especially if I know in advance of the allergy. Your son and daughter-in-law are being unreasonable. This situation seems very frustrating and disappointing, especially since the OP always took the care to accommodate her daughter-in-law's dietary requests. It's understandable why she would feel upset and unappreciated when her daughter-in-law refused to make any adjustments for her nut allergy. The fact that she was told to bring her own food, after all the effort she's put into accommodating her, is truly disheartening. And I can see why she would feel like she's reached her limit. It's clear that the OP's husband is also on her side, which makes sense given the circumstances. It's really upsetting to see this type of situation unfold within a family, especially when it comes to hosting events and dinners. The lack of understanding and empathy from the daughter-in-law is disheartening. It's important to consider the effort and care that family members have put in when it comes to accommodating dietary needs. I can only imagine how frustrated and unappreciated the OP must feel. This situation brings up a lot of questions about communication, understanding, and basic hospitality within a family dynamic. How do you think this could have been handled differently to avoid such a conflict? Can you relate to any experiences where dietary restrictions were not valued or respected by family members? Let me know in the comments down below, and let's move right into our next Reddit post. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter she is being selfish and that she needs to take an Uber since I am not leaving her older brother's wedding? This has been a built-up issue. My son got married this weekend, and this issue isn't dying, so I am going to go here. My daughter has very bad anxiety. She is 19, and I will call her Shelly. Shelly used to go to therapy when she was a minor, but stopped when she turned 18. Ever since then, her anxiety has been out of control, and due to this, she won't drive anymore. She has a license but refuses to drive. We live in the USA, and driving is basically needed, or it's a big inconvenience for the people around her. Also, she is an adult, so it's not like we can force her to drive. This is the issue. My son was getting married, and she was uncomfortable with so many people around at his wedding. She asked me to take her home. I told her no. If she is having difficulties, wait in the car. She told me it's freezing outside and she needs to leave. I told her no again. Turn on the heat in the car and wait if she needs to be away from people. She doesn't like this answer and told me she will have an attack if she stays and she needs to go home. I told her to take an Uber, then I am not leaving. She didn't like this, and this was turning into a full argument. Shelly told me I need to take her home again, and I had enough. I told Shelly she is being selfish, that she has many opinions, and I will not deprive her brother, my son, of his parents being at his wedding. If I took her home, I would miss his wedding since it was an hour drive here. She called me a jerk and left to stay in the car for a bit. She was back about an hour later for the rest of the wedding. She has been mad since, and her younger brother is copying her. Not the asshole. Thank God you said no. Notice how she magically was able to cope when push came to shove? That tells you a lot. She is used to getting her way, and it's high time she starts living in the real world and take responsibility for her own life. She needs to stop using anxiety, a perfectly normal emotion, as an excuse not to push herself to learn tools to cope and take responsibility for her own life and future, including seeking therapy if needed, and likely is. Her emotional manipulation and threats need to lose the power they've had in the past. Again, not the asshole. It's called good parenting. She's 19, not 9. Yeah, I feel like she wants things to revolve around her, honestly. I have a panic disorder and also don't drive because it makes my anxiety so bad I think I'm a danger to myself and others on the road, honestly. And a wedding could absolutely trigger a panic attack for me, but she had options. The car with heat is a perfectly valid one, but that wasn't good enough for her until suddenly she had no other options, then it was fine. She was being selfish. I absolutely get where she was coming from and needing to get away, but her expectations on how she would get away were not reasonable. Not the asshole. In terms of stuff like the stag do, this is why you get everyone all paid up in advance. So if they back out, tough luck. That's beer money now. No different to booking anything like an event, transportation, or a hotel. Not the asshole. 100% as you've stated, as she is now an adult, you can't force her to do things. She quit therapy, and that's on her. If she has a panic attack, it is not your responsibility. She is now an adult and needs to figure out how to handle this. Expecting her mother to miss her own child's wedding is absolutely selfish. You need to sit her down and lay out expectations. She has decided to quit therapy. She has decided to no longer drive. It is now on her to decide how to handle the difficulties she's going to face as a result of this. If she's still living with you, then a requirement of staying with you needs to be therapy. Panic attacks are awful, but if she's of sound enough mind to try and blame you because she might have one, then I question the validity of them in the first place. Apparently, they also discussed ahead of time that mom would not leave, and daughter said it wouldn't be an issue. Info. Is there a specific incident that sparked Shelley's driving anxiety? And did you guys discuss what Shelley would do if her anxiety got too high at the wedding? No specific incident. She is terrified of controlling a car. I did bring it up and told her I will not be leaving. She assured me it wouldn't be an issue. Not the asshole. And next time, don't bring her with. She has options to get her anxiety treated that she's refusing to exercise, and choosing to do this in the middle of someone else's major life event screams main character syndrome. She had options. She just didn't like the ones that didn't make her the center of this. Every time she brings this up, offer her therapy to deal with her untreated anxiety and then refuse to engage her further. This situation is very interesting and quite sad. It's clear there are a lot of emotions and anxiety involved on all sides. I can understand both the frustration of the mother and the daughter's struggle with her anxiety. Wow, this sounds like a really tough situation. Anxiety is such a difficult thing to deal with, and it's sad to see the family getting caught up in the middle of it. It must have been really hard for the mother to make that decision, but it sounds like she was trying to prioritize being there for her son on his big day. I can only imagine how that made Shelley feel, and how she must be struggling to manage her anxiety in such a stressful situation. How has the family been coping with the aftermath of this incident? And how is Shelley doing in general with her anxiety? Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books? I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.